Just a disclaimer, if you're a friend or family of mine and you don't want to hear specific details of times I've been sexually harassed and sexually assaulted, now is a good time to stop watching this video. Also, if you're triggered by talks of sexual assault or sexual harassment, this video is not for you either, so you should probably also stop watching now, because I'm going to be talking about these stories in detail. The earliest memory that I can recall of being sexually harassed happened when I was about 14 years old. Walking down the street with my best friend, probably on the way to Walmart, as that was the cool thing to do in our small little northern Michigan town. As this truck drives by us, they honk and they yell out something like, "Damn, looking good." I don't remember the exact words. But little did I know that would be the first of many, many, many catcalls and sexual harassments in the future. So fast forward 2 years, I'm about 16 years old now. My parents are gone for the weekend in Ann Arbor, Michigan, because my mom was in remission from cancer and they had a checkup. So I'm home alone. My ex-boyfriend wants to come over and talk about things, and I'm like, no, I don't want to talk. It's over. There's nothing to talk about. I don't want to hang out and I don't want to talk. So he gets dropped off even though I said not to come over. I'm like, fine, whatever, let's talk. We go up to my room, we're talking. One thing leads to another, a makeout session ensues, totally consensual. And then I stop the makeout section because I remember something that one of his friends had told me. So I pull away and I'm like, hey, you know, your friend so-and-so told me that the only reason that you're with me is for sex and you don't care about anything else. So is that true? He freaks out. He's super mad. He's super pissed. He's like, why the hell would you even ask me that? Obviously that's not true. I don't know why you would ever think that. Like, getting super duper mad just because I asked a question. And I was like, I'm just asking. Like, your friend told me that. I think that's a normal thing to ask. So he's like super pissed off and he wants to like go back to doing sexual stuff. And I was like, no. You just freaked out on me for asking if all you cared about was sex, and you yelled at me about it, and now you want to keep doing sexual stuff. So I was like, nah, I'm good. But I guess he wasn't good, because he kept trying to reinitiate sexual stuff, and I was like, no, I don't want to. And so he kept trying to like touch me and take my pants off anyway, even though I said I didn't want to. He eventually did get my pants off, and even though I said no, and I'm like crying at this point, obviously he didn't care. And he just penetrated me with his fingers anyway, and was up there for, I don't really know how long, but a little bit. And I'm, you know, crying and not wanting to participate. And then he stops because, I don't know, he stops and he's like, pulls out his fingers. There's obviously some substance on there, because if anybody knows about anatomy, there is normal liquids that are formed in a vagina. So he pulls his hand out and he's like, is your ex-boyfriend John? Or no, he was like, is this your, I'm just gonna use the name John. He says, is this John's cum in your vagina? Have you been having sex with John? This is his cum, isn't it? And I'm like, no, it's not. That's normal. Like, what the hell? I don't, like, go away. And then he freaks out. He punches a hole in my closet door. He dents my main entrance to my bedroom door. My bed had these, my bed frame was metal, and it had these like metal balls on both sides of the bed. And he like grabbed it and like, not broke it off because it's metal, that would be insane, but like pulled as hard as he could and like made it significantly loose, like broke it as much as anybody could. So at this point I'm like, you need to get the hell out of my house, because he's off of me now. I'm like, you need to get out. We go downstairs. I'm like, you need to leave. He goes to my kitchen. He gets a knife and he says he's gonna kill himself. So I go and I take the knife from him. Thankfully I wasn't like hurt or anything, because he could have, I don't know, used the knife against me or something. So I take the knife away from him. I put it back where it belongs, and I'm like, I'm calling your parents, and he's like, no. Then it's nighttime, so the street's not busy, thankfully, but he goes outside. I lived on like the main street where there's a decent amount of traffic during the day for a small northern Michigan town. So he goes outside and he stands in the middle of the road and he's like, I'm just gonna stand here till a car hits me. And I pull him back in, and I have my phone and I call his parents. And they answer, but then he takes it away from me. So in the background, I'm all like, help, help. And then he hangs up. He drags me up the stairs by my arm. At this point, I do have my phone back. I got it back from him. But he drags me up the stairs, locks us in the guest bedroom. But before he locked us into the guest bedroom, it was back before smartphones and when phones had batteries and stuff, most of them. And so he took the battery out of my phone, he threw the battery out the door, and my phone's useless without a battery. And he's just I'm on one side of the room, he's like blocking the door, and he's just not letting me out. Then all of a sudden he starts crying and he says, what are we doing in this room? What just happened? And I guess he said that he blacked out from some sort of drug, inhaling, I don't really know. And he didn't remember anything that happened, he said. So at this point I get him to agree to call his parents, and I tell him what happened, and he's like, no, and I'm like, yeah. And then I call his parents, I tell them I'm taking him home, and they insist that I stay the night because my parents aren't home. And I don't know, I was shooken up. I didn't really want to get into an argument or anything, so I was like, okay, because again, I'm 16, so I mean, adults are still like, you know, in charge and whatnot. And they make me stay the night in his bedroom with him. And he gets mad at me because I don't sleep in his bed with him. Yep. So that was the first time that I was physically assaulted. But it wasn't the last. When I was 17 years old, I was with a different boyfriend, and we were breaking up. I was breaking up with him after a rough relationship that needed to end. And I was upset even though I was doing the breaking up, and he wanted me to give him a goodbye blowjob. And I was like, I really don't want to do that. And he was like, just for, you know, one last time. So here I am giving him a blowjob while I'm crying till he finishes. Didn't matter that I was crying. He needed to finish, you know. When I was 20 years old, I went to Cancun, Mexico with one of my friends from high school for spring break. When we were on this boat party, this guy was walking around with a GoPro, and he's just filming everybody. He comes up to me with his GoPro, and I'm like, hey, and he goes and grabs my bathing suit top to try to pull it away so he can get his GoPro in there to see my nipples. Yeah, I hit his hand away. I should have hit him in the face, but I was just kind of like super shocked and stuff and didn't really know how to react. Again, I was 20 years old and I liked this guy. He was pretty cute. I invited him over to my apartment to do some studying. We had a beer together. Then he turned studying into making out, which I was fine with. But he tried to go in my pants. I said, no, I don't want to do that. He said, okay, we kept making out. He tried to go in my pants again. I said, no, I don't want to do that. He said, okay, we started making out again. He went for down my pants again. I said, no, I don't want to do that. And I actually said this. I said, you're not an animal, control yourself. And he said, well, no girl has ever said no to having sex with me, so I don't know why you won't. Then when I said, well, I don't want to, he left shortly after and said, I know it may seem like it, but I'm not leaving because you won't have sex with me. I mean, I guess at least this time I didn't get raped. When I was in Florida for flight attendant training, me and my crew went to a bar. Some guy tries to pull down my strapless dress. Might have been the same night, might have been a different night. Also in Florida, also at flight attendant training. Another guy comes up to me and asks me what kind of panties I'm wearing, asks me if I like feet, if I want him to give me a foot massage, blah, 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 blah. Creepy and unwanted and harassment. On my second trip ever as a flight attendant, me and my coworker go to a bar in Kansas City. When we're leaving, there's these two guys and these three girls. These two guys are trying to get these three girls to get in this cab with them. But the girls are like, no, like we don't want to. But the guys are like, come on, come on, come on. So I'm like, hell no, that's not happening. So I go up to the guys and my coworker follows behind and I say, I don't think that these girls want to go home with you. And then the guy's like, why are you being such a cock block? And I was like, it's not really cock blocking if they aren't interested. And I asked the girls, I'm like, do you guys want to go home with them? And they're like, no. And they're like scooting closer to me. And I'm like, see, they don't want to go home with you. It's not cock blocking. And then one of the guys is like, pointed to one of the girls and was like, well, I'm going to take her home and I'm going to tie her up to my bed. And I was like, no, you're not. I look at the girl, I'm like, do you want him to take you home and tie you up to his bed? And she's like, no. And I was like, see, she doesn't. Now please let these girls leave. Then he looks at me and he says, I'm going to take you home and I'm going to tie you up to my bed. And I said, you can either turn around with your friends and walk away right now or I'm calling the police. So they left, thankfully. In hindsight, it could have been more dangerous, but I'd rather die than not stand up for myself and other women. So there's that. So I was 21 when the Kansas City event happened. Also when I was 21, I went to Vegas with some of my flight attendant friends from training, just as like a 6-month reunion for graduating to be flight attendants. And we went there, and this group of guys were like, damn girl, you got a fine booty, and saying like I had a black girl booty for a white girl and stuff like that. And I was just like, okay, like kind of ignoring them, not really. And they said some other stuff to me, but I was like trying to ignore them. And then as they were leaving, I haven't made a video about it, but I don't shave my legs, or I don't shave. So as they were leaving, they're like, your legs are hairy, and you're like, said I was ugly anyway and stuff like that as they walked away. Fast forward to 22. I'm 22 years old now, so these next two ones are more recent. I had a layover in Fort Lauderdale, and I went to go get a tattoo while I was there. This flight attendant tattoo. because it was around the year mark of when I became a flight attendant. As I'm getting my tattoo, I'm wearing shorts, of course, so you know my beautiful hairy legs are out in the open. The guy giving me that tattoo won't stop talking about how much he loves leg hair and how sexy it is and how he would get froggy with that. I just found out what that meant not too long ago, and just being like making super like creepy comments. I'm in the middle of getting a tattoo though, so I wasn't gonna say anything that time because I really don't want my tattoo to be messed up, but that was uncomfortable and unwanted as well. This next story was over the winter. I was hanging out with some of my friends that I play video game tournaments with, and we had to go make another beer run because we ran out of beer. So me and 3 of my guy friends go to the liquor store to get more alcohol. I'm going in the store first. There's this group of guys in front of us. One of the guys turns around. He grabs me by my like butt, lower back area, pulls me into him and says, "Hey baby, how you doing?" I push him off me and say, "Don't fucking touch me." And he says, "I do whatever the fuck I want, when I want, to whoever I want." And I said, "Well, that's great, but not when it comes to me." We go our separate ways in the store. None of my friends said anything. We're looking at beer. The only thing any of them said, one of them said, "I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry." All he could say to me that he was sorry. Meanwhile, on the other side of the store, the guy who assaulted and harassed me is yelling across the liquor store, talking about how much of a thirsty bitch I am and how he's going to fuck me whether I like it or not. None of my friends say anything. None of the people working at the liquor store say anything. So I yell across the store, "You better stop talking or I'm going to call the police for sexual harassment and assault." And he stopped talking and he left, thankfully. We finish up getting what we need to get, and we go to leave the store. And again, one of my friends kept saying sorry, and I was like, I said it's okay, just because that's what you're supposed to say when people say sorry. And then one of my other friends looks at me and says, "Why'd you have to start stuff?" And I was like, "What do you mean, why did I have to start stuff?" I was attacked. I was grabbed inappropriately and pulled up into this guy, and then he threatened to rape me and called me names. I didn't start anything. I'm gonna defend myself, sorry. And then my other friend told me that I endangered all of their lives and how one of them could have got hurt and it's all my fault. And this time, this hurt a lot. This time hurt more than all the other times. Maybe it wasn't as physically bad as when I was 16 and there was legit penetration. But when you're with a group of your friends and they all tell you that it's your fault and you endangered their lives because of it, it really hurts. I'd just like to add that this isn't even close to all the times that I've been verbally, sexually harassed by men. Too many times to count for catcalling. I'm sure I've forgotten many of the ones that didn't bring anything new and specific to the table. I'm also purposely excluding times I've been harassed or assaulted at Super Smash Brothers tournaments, because that's a whole nother video in itself that I want to make addressing sexism and harassment and assault in video gaming communities towards women. So I left those stories out as well. This video is already going to be long enough because these stories, there's a lot of them. So thanks for watching, but more importantly, please help stop what's happening. I'm not the only one. Any of you that have any social media has probably seen all of the other Me Too's out there. And it needs to stop, and I hope everyone watching this video will work to end rape culture and end this. If you see somebody catcalling somebody, tell them to stop. If you hear a rape joke, tell them it's not funny. It's real and it sucks. I mean, I can't, like, on average, at least every other month, I get at least harassed, sexually harassed by somebody. I mean, I wonder every time I leave my house if I'm gonna be harassed or assaulted today, you know? Like, it happens a lot and it sucks and it's not fair. And it's really depressing sometimes to live in a world where you're not valued. Like, I feel not valued. It's scary and it's sad, and sometimes it's like, what's the point? Why even be alive if you can't even, like, just live your life without being sexualized and harassed and assaulted? I love my life. I love my job. I love my hobbies. I love my friends. My little bubble of life is so great, but there's so much hate and danger out there. And it's scary and it's sad, and it's just, when's it gonna end? When is it gonna end? So thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share to your friends. Hopefully, eventually we can end the amount of women and people who are sexually harassed and assaulted. We just need to work together.